Hello everybody and welcome to another real estate video. This is Javier Vidana, and today's video is once again not necessarily something too complicated or complex. Sometimes I like to sit back and really try to come up with some interesting topic that most people really don't understand, but a lot of times it's the basic stuff that gets missed out of. For some reason, realtors don't like to sit down and talk with their clients and just simply explain the timeline of a transaction. So in today's video, I'm going to discuss the timeline of a real estate transaction from the moment you decide to buy a home to the moment you get the keys. A disclaimer before I begin: this is just my experience that I've had with my clients in the past 5-6 years. This isn't the contract or the official timeline of buying a home. Every realtor does things differently, and if you have bought a home before, I'd love to know what was different about your experience. This is just a timeline that usually has happened when I have a successful transaction for a buyer. So let's begin. Buying a home can be broken down into 3 parts, and there's one significant moment that happens between each part that advances you to the next part, almost like a level, right? Your first level, if you would, is going to be your idea phase. This is where you come up with the idea of maybe I should buy a home. Unfortunately, some people decide to think of it as this is where I'm going to buy my dream home, and they decide to wait years and years, and later when they have an established career and they decide to really prolong it. And I talked about this on my video, why you should buy a home in your 20s. So if you haven't watched that video, I greatly recommend it, where I can talk about a lot about this in that video. But anyways, this is when we finally make the decision to buy a home. Now you could be, and this is a stage where maybe you're on Zillow.com, maybe you're on Realtor.com, maybe you're going to a realtor's website already. You're kind of browsing around looking for homes, getting an idea. You might stop at an open house or something like that, but this is just getting your feet wet, right? You're not actually getting ready to buy a home. And this is where a lot of realtors make the mistake of really aggressively chasing these people. This is just you figuring out if it's time to buy. This is where you get thoughts like, well, am I going to really get myself into a 30-year commitment? Am I really going to be doing this? Am I going to be doing that? Eventually, one decides, you know what? I'm going to take the leap. I'm going to make the decision. I'm going to buy a home. And that's your significant event that happens that makes you to go to the next step. When you finally decide, I'm going to buy a home, I'm going to do it, who cares what gets in my way, I'm going to get it done. This decision was what progresses you into the second point, which is your hiring / looking for a home stage. Now, a lot of times in the perfect world, you already have your realtor, you already have your lender, everything's ready to go. But the first part of this is your hiring stage. You have to find out who's going to help you buy a home. Now, I'm going to make a specific video about this, about buying a home and choosing a realtor and whatnot. And obviously I'm trying not to be biased here, right? Because every realtor, doesn't matter what their slogan is, guys, every realtor thinks they're the best. So it's really hard for people, especially consumers, to try to really find out what is the best option for them. So, and I'm going to leave this for another video, but let's just say in this stage you do get to hire your realtor. A lot of times what happens is you find your realtor first. And when you find a realtor that you like, they usually have lenders that they're going to recommend you get pre-qualified with. You could choose your own lender if you have a referral, maybe you have a bank you trust, but just keep in mind that a realtor is using the lender not because they're getting incentives or anything like that. They're using that lender because that lender has successfully helped buyers in the past that they've recommended. And not only that, but these lenders that are working with these realtors have more of an incentive to do a good job for them, because they know that they have a long relationship, a long-standing relationship, that if they don't treat you right or they're not able to close the deal for them, that they're going to stop working with them and they're going to lose that source of clientele, right? So it's kind of a nice incentive when you work with the realtor and the lender that work together. But if you find 2 different ones, then that's totally fine. And it's in this, when you talk to a lender, where you get your pre-qualification form. This is where you guys should take a step back and really figure out the data. They can't give you exact numbers of your monthly payment because you need to find the actual house first. However, you can meet up with the lender and make sure to get all these details, such as what is my closing cost going to be, or at least an estimate of them. What is my monthly payment going to look like? Yes, I know you can't give me an exact number, but give me a range. This is the area I'm looking at. This is the taxes in this area. What, or maybe other buyers that you've had that got a similar loan and got a similar area. What was their payment? What's going to be my interest rate? What's going to be my down payment? What's going to be, what kind of program am I using? Get all that information out, because this is where a lot of people don't really bother asking, and they get a house, and then once they're locked in, they finally find out all these details, and by then they feel like it's too late to actually change out, right? So once you get your pre-qualification, then you can literally start looking for your home. A good realtor, in my opinion, would then take this time before you actually go look at a house to sit down with you and explain the real estate procedure. A lot of my clients who have worked with me in the past and are going to work with me have to do this. It doesn't matter what happens. As soon as you get pre-qualified, we're going to meet at my office. So a good realtor, I believe, should do this because it will answer a lot of questions you might have down the road. And kind of like a 2B is now you start looking for a home, right? This is where a lot of people unfortunately get stuck and they never move on to the next step. Looking for a home is not no easy task. And a lot of people usually ask, well, how long is it going to take for me to buy a home? Well, this first half of what I talked about doesn't take that long. What does take long is looking for a home, and once you find a home, then your escrow process usually looks 30 to 45 days. We know that's 30 to 45 days of closing a home, but we don't know how long it's going to take you to find one. It could take a week, it could take a few days, but it can also take a few months, depending on how picky, what kind of inventory is on the market, etc., etc. And you shouldn't say, well, I need to buy a house now. I'm going to buy a house as soon as possible, so I'm going to just find something. You shouldn't do that. A home is going to be an investment that you're going to have for a little bit, so you shouldn't be too picky. I guess there's no telling you not to be picky, but you kind of have to be, don't just rush into it. You want to make sure you find a home that you kind of like. My thing with clients is when I show them a house, I always ask them from 0 to 10, what would you rate this house? 10 being the best house, 0 being always, okay, great. They say a 6 or 7. I usually tell people your first home is always going to be about a 6 or a 7. But as long as it has the potential to be made into a 9 or 10, then it's the home for you. If it's a 6 or 7, and even after you change certain things, it's still going to be a 7, then it's probably not the right fit. When you finally find a home you like and you make an offer, and not only do you make an offer, but it gets accepted, because getting an offer accepted is a complete different challenge than just making an offer. Then you get to move on to the next step, which is your third and final step, which is the escrow process. When you're in the escrow part, you're almost in the home stretch, right? You finally found the home you liked. You have an offer accepted. In most cases, the seller can't cancel unless you breach contract. So an escrow typically would take 30 to 45 days. There are some lenders that say they can do it 15, 20 days and they're super rushed. I recommend you hit that sweet spot about 35 days. You just never know what might pop up. You never know, if there'll be issues with the inspection that requires additional inspections, or the appraisal not appraising, so there have to be additional repairs. All this stuff that you can't predict. So 30 to 40 days is a sweet spot that I try to hit. Also, this is just specific to Arizona, so check your area. Your first 10 days is your inspection period. This is your time to inspect a home, make sure everything fits your mold, check the school districts, check sex offenders in the area, check online for termite information, do your home inspection. If your home inspector really kind of, it's a general inspection, but if they say, well, the AC probably needs some work, then get an AC inspector, get a termite inspection. This is your chance to do as many inspections as you want. Yes, a home inspection will probably cover the majority of things, but if you're not comfortable with maybe there's something that needs more detailed, then get an additional inspector and ask them what they think and see if it's worth it. Now, in particular to Arizona, you could ask for repairs and whatnot. I'm not going to get into it right now, but I'm going to defer you to my other video on how to deal with the bad inspection when dealing with a home that has a ton of repairs and whatnot. So watch that video if you haven't. But this is your time to do what you need to. In Arizona, this is the time where if there's something that you find that you don't like, you could cancel and you will get your deposit back. So keep that in mind and make sure to find, really do your due diligence, because after this 10 days it'll be tougher to cancel and get your deposit back. Usually during the inspection you order the appraisal. The appraisal is a bank's way of sending a third party to verify the actual value of the home. If you made a house, you can make an offer for $1 million on a home, but the bank goes out there and says this house is only worth $200,000, then that's all they're going to loan you. So they're going to send a third party out to evaluate the home. They do check it's up to code per lending guidelines and whatnot. So they verify those items, but usually they're more there to check the value. You usually get it between days 10 to 20 of the current contract. And, in the perfect scenario, you might get a day 16, day 15 of the contract. And then if there's two things that could happen. It could come in great and you just move on, or if it can come in lower, then you have to do some negotiations with the seller. Probably the first 20 days, the lender's asking you for paperwork like pay stubs and additional documents and bank statements. They're gonna get ready. They're gonna ask you for a lot of bank statements. They're gonna ask you for all that fun stuff. But day 20 to 30 is when they're dealing with the final approval. Your loan is probably going to be in underwriting already, but now that they have the appraisal, they're trying to get you to get a full loan approval. And once you get your clear to close loan approval, which hopefully is about day 27, because they need to have those docs at title by 3 days before close of escrow, then you're basically going in and signing. A lot of people sign a few days before the actual closing date, or some people sign the day of, which is super stressful, but it happens. But you're signing between the last 5 days, and using the last 5 days, you're going to do a walkthrough of the house and make sure that nobody broke in and damaged anything, nor they're also going to make sure. and they're also going to check that the repairs that you requested actually got done and all that good stuff. So that's about the timeline. Once you're signing and you've signed and whatnot, especially in Arizona at least, you sign and then the seller signs and then the funds get there, then they send it out to record, and once it records, you are officially a homeowner, and then you got to meet up with the agent to get your keys. And that's it. It's a very rough timeline. I always tell my folks that when it's time to buy a home and you're pre-approved, we're going to meet up in my office and give you a really detailed one, but that's just a very brief one for any people that are on the internets and prospecting or just getting an idea. So if you have any questions, please let me know below. And of course, if you're all looking to buy or sell a home in Arizona, please go to my website, Javier Vidana, where you can scroll down there, click a link, and it'll lead you to my home search website. You can also learn a little more about me, what I'm about, what my story is, etc. If you are in another state, I'd love to help you in any way I can. If you don't have a realtor, I have a really good knack of finding good realtors, so let me know where you're from. I'll look up and see if I can find a good realtor for you. And before I leave, once again, thank you so much for all my subscribers. You guys rock. If you haven't subscribed, we make weekly real estate educational videos here to help you accomplish your home goals. But I'm always going to say this, YouTube is the future. I honestly do believe that. A lot of people out there in sales in general like to make videos on Facebook, and they use YouTube, they upload it on YouTube and then they share it on Facebook or Instagram, whatever. YouTube has its own specific community around the world, and I am a huge believer in YouTube being the future, and I'm very happy that my business is not being adapted with YouTube. I'm getting people who are reaching out to me saying, hey, I like the way you talk in your videos, I want you to help me buy. I'm really blessed for that, and I really do think that I want to keep doing this for a long time. So thank you guys very much. I appreciate your time, and if you have any questions, let me know below. Thank you.